Hey folks, Quill18 here, and welcome to a Baldur's Gate 3 character showcase video. I'm going to be talking about the very funky build that I've got going on in my character over here. This is someone I'm playing not as part of any Let's Play or live stream, it's part of a multiplayer game I'm playing with friends weekly. We have just hit level 5, and I'm really enjoying my character and her very crazy multi-class build that I just respec to last night, and really had a lot of fun with it. We're going to try to avoid any and all story spoilers in this video. There will be an acknowledgement that there exists an NPC that you can talk to respec your character. They will technically show up on a screen for a brief second here, but we'll not talk about the story. It's someone you meet really early on. If you're watching this video, you probably already know that they exist. Multi-class characters are definitely not for early players because they are a little bit complicated, and multi-classing a lot of times can actually lead to a weaker character, but this character is a lot of fun. And I really like it. We're also going to be talking about items, but only at the end of the video. So if you don't want any item spoilers whatsoever, you'll know. I'll let you know when to turn off the video at that point. But other than that, hopefully this should be completely spoiler-free for you. So this is my character, Therona, the Drow half-elf, who started life as just a straight-up cleric. In our party, we have a fighter, we have a rogue, we have a warlock. We have 3 very solid damage dealers, and so I was going to play a supportive role to just buff these incredible damage dealers, keep them healthy, and also try to help out in combat. Originally, she was built here, Therona, as a second strong frontline melee character. I had picked the nature domain as a cleric. I really like the nature domain because it gives you a skill, it gives you access to a couple new spells, it gives you heavy armor. I think it's really quite exceptional. I really like the nature domain. It does not give you martial weapons, but as a half-elf, I do get the human civil militia here, which let me do pole arms, which I thought would be quite fun because no one else in the party would do it. And I started with that. But I kind of ran into a lot of situations in fight where I felt like I wasn't really contributing as much as I could because I couldn't always make it to melee in a timely fashion. Sometimes it would be too bottlenecked, sometimes it would be other things. Sometimes I would just be concerned about if I was trying to maintain a concentration spell. I'm like, well, what if I get hit and I lose concentration? And yeah, you can take something like Warcaster Feat or something like that. But overall, it was feeling like I wasn't really doing a great job in the party. And we do have 2 meleeers. I mean, very strong, tanky fighter type. Rogue, less tanky, but still relatively strong, that mostly plays as a meleeer. So I thought maybe what I could do is rebuild myself as a bit more of a ranged person. Maybe I could find other ways to bring in some utility, which is why I'm currently this Sorcerer, Cleric, Bard. Now, I respect her at the start of our session yesterday. We were level 4, so I was level 1 Sorcerer, level 1 Cleric, level 2 Bard. We just hit level 5 at the end of the session. I haven't really played around with her since hitting the level 3 Bard. I'm going to talk about this build, but we're actually going to respec her and make a change in this video to introduce Wizard instead of Sorcerer, and we'll talk about why. So one of the things in 5th edition, and this is indeed the case in Baldur's Gate 3, 5th edition D&D, Baldur's Gate 3, is that your spell slots are determined by the total of all your spellcasting classes altogether. I do not have the spellcasting of a level 3 Bard and a level 1 Sorcerer and a level 1 Cleric separately. Instead, I have the spellcasting of a level 5 Spellcaster. These are all full spellcasting classes. You add up all these numbers, level 5. At level 5, you get 3rd level spell slots. I do indeed have 3rd level spell slots. So I have not, by multiclassing like this, I have not lost access to spell slots. I don't have access to actual 3rd level spells, so my 3rd level spell slots will just be used to upcast my level 1 and level 2 spells. That's one of the reasons we're going to be looking at the Wizard over here. But overall, it led to a character that felt considerably better. I dumped strength because I wasn't going to go into melee. I switched, instead of being a nature cleric, which gave me access to heavy armor, I decided, well, I'll put some strength points into dexterity instead, which will open up. I'll pick a different school, a different domain for the cleric. I'll just use medium armor with dexterity. It's going to be fine. And I'm going to add access by accessing Sorcerer in particular, but also Bard. I gain access to a ton more cantrips, and there's been surprisingly useful. I have 11 cantrips, and they don't feel wasted. I have 3 attack clerics, cantrips, the Firebolt, the Acid Splash, and the Shock and Grasp. I used all 3 of them repeatedly in multiple fights when we played yesterday. I have all the good social boosters, or like social event skill check boosters, resistance, guidance, and thaumaturgy. We have light so that our people without dark vision over here can get that. I just dropped light on my fighter over here when we're doing some dark area fighting. Also got Dancing Light if need be. At Blade Ward, True Strike, they haven't really come up. And then Mage Hand as well. Very useful set of cantrips over here. In combat, what I tend to do at this stage is bless my party members. I bless the 3 other party members who are what I consider to be the heavy hitters of the group. Bless is useful throughout the entire game. You can also upcast this so that you can do fort creatures. So as a level 2 spell, you can bless yourself as well, which I might do sometimes. I might not do sometimes. I don't, again, I'm less worried about my 2-hit rolls, although we do have some great attacks. So maybe that is the right thing. However, for reasons that will be obvious once we look at items, currently I don't feel the need to bless my own personal character. So we'll talk about that when we look at the items. But again, I don't want to spoil anything right over there. So yeah, a lot of times I bless, that's my concentration spell. And then after that, I'm doing cantrips for attacks. I'm using magic missiles because I hate spells that can miss or can be saved against and do no damage. So I love, if I'm going to spend a spell slot, I love doing it with magic missile, for example. And then I have some great, currently still some great utility spells with something like Speak with Animal and Animal Friendship, despite the fact that I'm no longer a Nature Domain Cleric. I think I picked that for my Bard spells. But we're going to do a little respec over here. And instead of this setup over here, where we are using Charisma as our primary attack stat with Firebolt, and Acid Splash, and Shock and Grasp, I'm going to respec, and we're going to throw in some Wizard in here. So let's talk to a character that you find at some point that lets you do a respec. Again, you can change everything except your race and your background. I really wish I could change my background now, because with this character, I originally took Soldier as a background, which was very useful, but is no longer useful at all. Soldier gives you proficiency in Athletics and Intimidation. Athletics, because I'm no longer having a high strength, Athletics is not generally useful to me, so even with the proficiency, it's not something that's terribly impressive. And Intimidation, we're going to get for free from our Bard College later on. So we are going to be ending up as a Bard, Cleric, Wizard. So the question is, which class do you pick first? There is a difference. There is a thing that is slightly important when it comes to your first class, and that is the fact that you don't, there's a few things that you get or don't get when you multi-class into a class as opposed to picking it first. The biggest thing is weapon proficiencies. So for example, the Cleric over here normally gets simple weapons and Morning Stars. What's the word I'm looking for? If you multi-class into Cleric, you don't get the simple weapons. You do get Morning Stars, you do get all the armor, but you don't get Morning Stars. I think if you multi-class into Fighter, I don't think you get heavy armor from that, but don't quote me. I think you think you get everything else, but I don't think you get heavy armor if you multi-class into Fighter. So again, you're going to want to sort of pick and choose your first class, kind of sort of based on that. So with this character here, I'd actually started as Sorcerer first, which is a little annoying because one of the things I like doing with this character is dual-wielding torches, which doesn't matter anymore because I don't have any strength, but it's worth noting the Sorcerer doesn't get simple weapons. So if I'm going to pick my first class, I'm probably going to pick either Cleric for simple weapons or even Bard, because that'll give us long swords, rapiers, and short swords, and hand crossbows, which I won't get otherwise by multi-classing into Bard. So I think I'm going to pick Bard first. And then the tricky part becomes which cantrips and stuff do you take? Because some of these, we're going to get, I mean, I'm picking 3 spell casting classes, all of which will have their own cantrips. And so we're going to want to pick and choose things here that aren't redundant with things we pick somewhere else. Either, are we going to get something for free, or are we going to get something that's better? Like, I don't really need Vicious Mockery, because I'm going to have better attack cantrips from my, well, either Sorcerer, which was my original go, or now Wizard. I'm going to have better attack cantrips, so I don't need that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a couple of utility things that are just going to be handy. I'm going to take the Mage Hand, and I'm going to take Light over here. These are spells that I enjoy having around, so I'm going to pick those as my Bard starting cantrips. And then for my spells over here, this is actually quite important because unlike a Wizard, you don't get to just learn new spells on the fly from learning from a scrolls. So we do have to pick here, although the Bard, every time they level up, they do get to swap one of their spells. And we will be leveling primarily as a Bard because the Bard actually gets some interesting stuff every level as they continue to go. So over here, one thing to note is with the build that I loaded up here, which was with the Sorcerer, Charisma was my highest stat, and it was what we were primarily using. So I would be fine with taking spells that do saving throws based on Charisma, or to hit rolls based on Charisma. But with this, I'm actually going to be focusing on Intelligence as my highest stat. And in this respec, I will actually be putting a high amount of Intelligence in. Now, for those of you who have played the game a little bit more, you know there's a solution to the Intelligence problem. In my party, one of my other friends is currently wielding the solution to the Intelligence problem, let us say. At some point that might change, in which case I'll probably respec, dump my Intelligence, and then just use the, again, the solution. But in this case, I'm going to spend on the intelligence over here and go with this build here. So despite the fact that I will be taking a cleric level, my wisdom is going to be non-existent. One ability point left over, I like put it in strength just on the hope that it helps with our carry capacity or something like that. So we're going to do this. We'll still have a decent charisma, but it's not going to be a primary stat. One of the things with multiclassing heavily as well is your feats and / ability score increases. It's not every 4th character level, it's every 4th class level. So with this multiclass, I still, even though I'm level 5, still don't actually have the choice of feat or ability score increase. So that's one of the disadvantages to multiclassing heavily, because that gets really delayed. And in Baldur's Gate, I believe the top level is 12, which means normally you get a 3rd feat / ability score increase. For us, we'll be limited to just 2, and they will come a little bit later. So there's a little bit of a con. This build that I'm working on here, this particular setup I'm using is great for supporting my friends in multiplayer, but this is an exceptional build for like your own single player run, and have this be as a main character, because you're going to have all the skills. It's going to be fantabulous. So anyway, let's go back to the spells over here. So again, because I'm not running Charisma in my primary, something like Fairy Fire, which I do think is really good, might be slightly less good because our Charisma is not going to be that high. I'm going to tell you this, our Cleric is not going to have healing spells. So I'm going to want Healing Word. I love Healing Word in combat. In fact, I usually don't even run Cure Wounds. And in fact, we won't be running Cure Wounds in this one. Because Cure Wounds takes a whole action and is melee range. You have to run up to someone, touch them, and spend your entire action healing them. Yeah, it does more healing than Healing Word, but not that much more. It's a D4 versus a D8. Like, and yeah, you can upscale it, upcast it for more, but I don't love this as a combat action. Healing Word is great because it's a bonus action only and it's range. And a lot of times in combat, I don't bother healing people until they drop. If they fall down, then I just range Healing Word to get them back up again and back into the battle. I would rather focus on making my allies hit harder and be survivable via buffs than raw heals, especially since out of combat healing can be supplied by short rests. So I like that. I personally very much still like Speak with Animals and Animal Friendship. And also Longstrider is amazing because this is a ritual spell, which means you can cast it without spending a spell slot. It is not a concentration spell, which means all 4 of your party members should always have Longstrider on all the time to give them much more mobility in combat. Everyone will love you. It's fantastic. Personally, I like the flute as a starting instrument, so I'm going to do that. And yeah, ability scores, we already talked about. I'm going to do this. Again, if you have a solution to the intelligence problem, then you can go ahead and dump this, and then you have a lot of options. What you might do is put some points back into wisdom, for example, at least level 14, maybe 16. Maybe, actually, we probably end up doing something like this, I would suspect. This will give you more cleric spell slots, which is great, and then you can use more charisma for talking and that sort of thing. But, again, what I'm going to do here instead is I'm going to dump wisdom completely, and I'm going to bring intelligence up the hard way here. Okay, so that is, oh, we need to make a change over here in our skills. So again, I wish I could change my background because my background is giving me athletics proficiency and intimidation proficiency, and I don't want either one of those. I do want intimidation because I want social stuff, but we're going to be getting this for free later on, so I'm a little annoyed about that. I'm trying to remember here. I feel like I get deception for free later on. Hold on, if I look up Baldur's Gate 3, Bard, and it's the Lore College. College of Lore. Yeah, we get, okay, so we get Arcana, Intimidation, and Sleight of Hand for free. For some reason I was thinking we get Deception for free from something too. I feel like it's going to be the case, and I'm going to kick myself for clicking that. I don't know. I'm going to take an Investigation since I do have the Intelligence. I'm not going to take any of the Knowledge parts of it. I really feel like there's something later that gives me Deception for free, and I'm going to be upset. Let's put a bookmark in there. For now, I'm going to go ahead and hit this and Persuasion. Because I mean, despite the fact that we're not pumping tons into Charisma, we should do a fairly decent job as a party face. With Performance Intimidation, we're going to have advantage from Thaumaturgy. So we should do a pretty good job over here. Again, if you've got a solution to the intelligence problem, or if you're playing with Sorcerer instead of Wizard, like I'm doing intelligence because I'm doing the Wizard side of things. If you are not going Wizard, then you're going to have more into Charisma, in which case you'll be that much better at the social skills. But I'm going to go ahead with this. A little concerned about Deception. God, I'm going to be mad if I get that. Okay, so then we're going to level up. Now, by default, it's going to want you to level up as a Bard again, but we are not going to do that right now. We will be leveling more as Bard later on. That's the one we're going to keep leveling up. But for now, we're going to go ahead and inject our second class, which is going to be Cleric. And on the Cleric side, With cantrips, we're not going to do Sacred Flame because Sacred Flame would use our Wisdom for its DC, which our Wisdom is terrible. Plus, again, we're going to get attack cantrips from our Sorcerer/Wizard side. Instead, I'm just going to go Thaumaturgy, Guidance, Resistance. Light has a lit square around it because we're already getting it from another class. So we're going to grab that for utility. For subclass, again, I love the Nature Domain. I think it's quite cool. You know, the free skill over here, a couple of great spells, which we don't need on our current build, but in general, I'm a big fan of this. Instead, we're going to go Knowledge Domain. Knowledge Domain will give us command, which we're not going to want to use because it's going to be a saving throw based on wisdom, which is going to be bad for us. But sleep could be useful early on because it doesn't use a saving throw, so it doesn't care that we have a bad wisdom. But as you level up more and more, the hit point limit is going to be kind of a problem. The reason we're taking the Knowledge Domain is because it's going to give us expertise in a couple of skills. It defaults to Arcana and History, which is quite cool. Deity-wise, I think Ogma, for the thematically, Ogma fits in really well for what we're building here. Abilities. So we're going to change this because we are going to get a proficiency in Arcana for free from our lore college in the Bard. So I'm going to turn off Arcana over here, and we're just going to pick something else. Let's say History and Religion. There you go. That seems fine to me. Done. Do that, and we can prepare only one spell, because the number of spells you can prepare as a cleric is 2 modified by your wisdom modifier, which is -1 for us. We don't need any healings, because we're going to get that from our bard side, and because of our low wisdom, it wouldn't heal much anyway. We don't want an attack spell like Guiding Bolt, because it'll never land. We're just going to go ahead and take Bless, because it will always work, and it will make your friends really, really happy. Whether you're playing single player or multiplayer, we're going to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and accept. That's going to be great. Now, for our next level up, rather than taking Cleric 2, which means we're never going to get our domain powers, that's okay, we're going to add another class, and here's the thing. So again, you could go Sorcerer and just focus on a Charisma build. It's fantabulous. If you take Sorcerer, I would absolutely personally go Storm Sorcery for the Tempestuous Magic, because I think it's cool, but Draconic and Wild Magic are also excellent, and maybe better, to be honest. Obviously, you're not going to get a lot of hit points from Draconic Resilience, the hit point side of things, and actually you don't need the armor class either, actually, because you're going to be able to wear armor thanks to the Cleric. So probably not that. Maybe Wild Magic because it's fun, but I would go Storm Sorcerer personally, except that I'm going to go Wizard here for our intelligence-based thing, even though we have some attribute issues that are just cray-cray. Cantrip-wise, what we're going to take from the Wizard side of things are pure attack cantrips. Firebolt for big single target damage, Acid Splash for excellent area of effect damage, and we're going to take a Shocking Grasp in case someone gets into melee with us. If we can shock them, then they can't use reactions, which means we can move away without attacks of opportunity. Our spells over here, this sort of kind of doesn't matter, because as a wizard, we're going to be able to learn every wizard spell that exists in the game from scrolls, which is going to be great. The big thing for me, though, is we're not going to get an armor spell, because we're literally wearing armor. I do want Magic Missile, because it's awesome. After that, I don't know, maybe a shield spell as a backup defense. And then after that, I literally don't care. I'll take Featherfall. No, yeah, maybe a Charm Person in case we decide to pick that up for social interactions. Maybe we'll have access to Enhanced Leap. Maybe I want to do Grease Things or Find Familiar or something like that. Again, we're going to be able to learn tons of things. It's not going to matter over here. Prepared spells, day to day, what I'm going to want to pack is a Magic Missile. I'm going to want to pack a Shield spell. And then, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll want to have Charm Person available for a social interaction. We're going to be replacing these in a second, as soon as we are done with the actual character creation. So yeah, doesn't make a difference. We're going to accept that. Okay, so now we are level 1 Bard, Cleric, Wizard. Now what we're going to do is we're going to level up as Bard. Now, we could take a second level as Wizard, because that would give us a subclass. Personally, Evocation is what I like a lot for Sculpt Spell. It's really good. But I'm going to go with plan. I'm just going to level up as Bard, which gives us another level 1 spell, which I don't really care. I'm going to take Heroism, because every now and again, there's a situation where Heroism does come in to be pretty useful. And when you level up as a Bard, you can also swap one spell for another, which is mostly useful when you gain access to higher level spell slots. There we go, level 5. So I'm going to take my 3rd Bard level, which is going to be the College of Lore. Chunk, 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 chunk. So we pick a new spell. I'm going to pick Cloud of Daggers, because I like that sort of area restriction stuff. As level 5 Half Drow, I do also gain Darkness. And for the subclass, I'm taking College Lore. And the reason I'm doing this is because it gives us proficiency in Arcana, Intimidation, and Sleight of Hand. Again, I already have Intimidation because of my soldier background, which I cannot change. But if you're making this character from scratch, pick something other than the soldier background. You'll be very happy. If you can pick something that gives you like either knowledge or religion, then that's quite cool, because then between the Bard College here, which gives you Arcana, and your Cleric domain, which gives you 2 knowledge skills, you will have all 4 knowledge skills covered. As long as you get 1 knowledge skill that is not Arcana from your background, would be quite cool. We can also do a replace spell here. Again, what we'd be looking to do is replace one of our level 1 spells. I'm going to drop Heroism, because I still like to speak with Animal and Animal Friendship, because I do, and Longstride are super useful. So I'm going to drop Heroism, and then use that to pick up another level 2 spell. Invisibility is pretty good, I hear. Maybe Lesser Restoration, because no one in my party, in fact, that's what I'm going to do here. No one in my party can cast Lesser Restoration, and I'm not leveling up as a Cleric anymore, so maybe I'll take this in my personal game so that I have this available. If I was playing single player and, say, Shadowheart was in my party, then I wouldn't care about this at all. But there we go. We're going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to accept that, and now my character is currently done at level 5. My plan from now on is to continue to level up Bard, because Bard gives you kind of something cool every level, and yeah, and then we keep gaining access to higher and higher spell levels from the Bard. Now, here's the big thing, and the reason I swapped from a Sorcerer to a Wizard. One of the things with this, again, I have access to level 3 spells because my total spell casting class adds up to 5, which means I have level 3 spell slots, but I don't currently know any level 3 spells. All I can do is upcast level 1s and level 2s. But by being a Wizard, what I can do is I can come over here, and I can learn the Fireball spell. And then if I go into my spell book under the Wizard tab, I can say, you know what, I don't need Enhanced Leap. Instead, I'm going to throw a Fireball in this. As a Wizard with my intelligence level, I can have prepared 4 Wizard spells of any level. Any Wizard spell I know can be done that way. And now all of a sudden, I've got access to Fireball, which can be cast with my level 3 spell slots. Boom. Now I'm a level 1 Wizard that can cast Fireball. So what the goal with this character was to build someone who's be great at supporting my multiplayer group over here by filling in some gaps. We have tremendous amount of single target damage. Well, now if I can do things like Fireball, I can supply a lot more area of effect damage while they while they do their massive damage to bosses while I try to keep them alive. I can help whittle down the number of mooks, right? Between even just Acid Splash, which is great, you know, fantastic stuff over there. But, and here's why this is quite good potentially as your single player campaign, right? Outside of multiplayer, when you want to be the star, we've got like all the skills you're going to want for like cool conversation stuff. Admittedly, we don't have insight, and not having perception kind of sucks. But again, if you're the main character, let's talk about items for a sec. Let's acknowledge the elephant in the room that, oh, I forgot they're in a different place. Let's acknowledge that the Warped Headband of Intellect exists, which sets your intelligence to 17. If I were wearing that myself, I would not have to put the points in here. I would go into Wisdom and boost that, which would, again, give us the ability to be a little bit better with Insight and Perception, and that would be quite cool. There's no background that gives you Perception. I believe there is one that gives you Insight, though. I don't remember what else it gives you, but that might be the one to look at if you can do that. But I'm actually still happy with the hat I'm wearing. Currently, the Cap of Curing is quite good. So again, I don't have a ton of healing because I don't think healing in combat is that important. I want an emergency heal from the Healing Word, but if I can get a little bit of freebie extra healing, that's quite good. So now I want to use Bardic Inspiration to give one of my allies 1d6 on the next roll, which a lot of times are going to happen in social conversations, but not always. Sometimes it'll happen in combat, right? If, like right now, Spider or Rogue, I would love him to have 1d6 extra to their attack, in addition to the Bless I'm going to be running all the time, so that they're guaranteed to hit and land their sneak attacks. Well, in addition to that, they're going to get 1d6 points of healing. Just a little bit of constant healing coming in, which is great. My breastplate is just regular, nothing to talk about. Hellrider's Pride over here. When I heal another creature, gains resistance against bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing. Boots of Aid and Comfort. When I heal a creature, gains 3 extra temp HP. Ooh, that's quite good. On the offensive side, this amazing necklace of your magic missiles shoot an extra magic missile. I love magic missile, and because it can't miss, and this makes it do more damage. I mean, minimum of 2 extra damage, possibly 5 extra damage. That's quite a lot, and gives me an extra cast per day, just built in. The Whispering Promise. Hey, when I heal a creature, I basically bless myself. I think it does show up as a 2-turn bless on my character sheet, as a buff over here. I don't know if it stacks with bless itself. But that's okay, because oftentimes I'm just going to be using Bless as a level 1 spell, which only targets 3 creatures. So I'm going to do my 3 friends. You can upscale it to level 2, in which case it does 4, so you'd be able to cover yourself. But I don't think I need to, because as long as I'm doing a little bit of healing from time to time, I will be self-blessing for things, and that's going to be okay. This shield here does give me access to a heroism, which is nice. And then I just found this Mel's First Staff, which is great, because it gives me, it's basically +1 to hit on my like firebolts and stuff. I'm so happy with this staff. It's going to be really useful. And an ML Acid arrow ready to go as well is going to be great. So yeah, so what this character is this is a character who has access to tons of skills, and again, would be even better for you if you picked a different background, and were wearing the warped headband of intellect, and also someone who can cast a lot of spells. I mean, we have access to your normal level of spell slots. We do have the disadvantage that we don't get our feat/ability score increase at the same time as everyone else, and also we won't be gaining the knowledge of high level spells from our bard side, but that's what the wizard is. In the end, what's going to happen here with these 4 wizard slots is they're basically always going to be used for super high wizard spells. Although probably not exclusively, because I'm still only gonna have so many high level slots, right? Like if these are all level 3 spells, I mean, that feels good, but I can still only cast 2 per day, like any level 5 character, right? But maybe I'll have a couple of level 3s, a level 2, and then maybe I'll still keep Magic Missile because I love Magic Missile. And that's fantastic. And then, yeah, day to day, I'm just blasting people with my which I've got to reorganize my bar here since we re-leveled. So yeah, we got our Firebolts on level 5, so all my cantrips have an extra die of damage, which feels fantastic, right? Going from a 1d10 to a 2d10 just feels really wonderful. And overall, I just enjoyed playing this character. I really enjoyed playing the Sorcerer version, right? When we loaded up today, I was level 1 Sorcerer, level 1 Cleric, level 3 Bard technically, but I played it as a level 2 Bard. We leveled up right at the end of the session. I haven't actually experienced gameplay as this level 5 character yet, but it felt so good. I felt so much more useful to the group. It felt so much more satisfying dealing range damage rather than constantly sort of vaguely attempting to get into melee combat and feeling awkward about it. I think this is going to be a build I'm really happy about. And again, you might have better luck with the Sorcerer build and really focusing hardcore on Charisma, or with this build here, especially if you with the Warped Headband of Intellect, which I suspect at some point I will probably inherit from Ragnar. Ragnar here is an Eldritch Knight, wanted the intelligence to support some of his spell casting, but it wouldn't surprise me if at some point a better helmet shows itself there, and he might not care that much about the actual instat, which means I might inherit it, which means I might respec out of intelligence. Or I'll find another helmet that's going to be even better than this to support the build I'm going on, in which case I'm going to keep having sort of these spread out stats. I mean, the only thing I would do is if I had the Warped Hellband of an Intellect, I would move more points in the Wisdom, or more points in the Charisma, might be the case. But very happy with this, and again, if I was making this character from scratch, I would not take the soldier background, because I don't really care about the athletics proficiency, and the intimidation, I have the proficiency twice, which means it's being wasted, and so I would look at some sort of different background of some kind. I don't know, there's one that gives you survival, is it survival plus nature? Survival plus stealth? That might be kind of useful. I don't know. Yeah, so I'm not sure what it would be. I also don't know what I would do about changing my my race necessarily. I gotta say, the Drow Fairy Fire is pretty nice. It is based on Charisma, so again, might work better if you were doing the Sorcerer High Charisma version than this one over here. But Fairy Fire is a really, really useful spell. It's worth learning and memorizing as a spellcaster, generally speaking. I'm less incentivized here because I do have the one available as the Drow, so I wouldn't worry about it the same way. But yeah, it is really quite cool. And I'm excited to see what kind of silly stuff I can do with darkness as well once we start playing in. So that's it. There's my little character profile. Hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know down below if you are doing crazy multiclassing for your character, in which case, what is it? Also, if you can figure out other ways to kind of optimize this build, certainly let me know. Again, avoid any spoilers in general if you can, because all kinds of people might be reading comments. And for me in particular, I'm still in Act 1. I'm still taking things slow as heck. You know, we've just poked our noses into a dark place, let's say, just very recently in this multiplayer game. But yeah, other than that, keep it spoiler free. But yeah, if you've got some ideas about how you could build a really cool multi-class character, whether it's like a melee physical combat person or a spellcaster, let us know. Thanks for watching. See you soon.